talk again about cDashboard. This is my second for the summer, so just really quickly, so what's cDashboard? This is really fast. This is it. This is cDashboard. You have a picture viewer, a sticky, note taker, a stopwatch, and that's on a separate interface from normal Windows. But this actually isn't cDashboard anymore. This isn't what it looks like. Just before I even get into anything, I actually had some things I was going to do over the summer after my last presentation. But for the most part, I went doing different things because of the suggestions I got from my last presentation. So to start, people were saying, oh, the Windows forms look kind of weird. They're a little big, especially like in the stopwatch. You have that giant title bar with such a small form. Well, now that's not a thing anymore. These things don't exist. But my big problem originally had been, how do I make it still easy to use and simple and make sense? So let's talk about that. So how did that happen? So first things first, using the Windows API and basically overriding the WND prop void, you're able to capture Windows messages and basically change their data before they go forward in the operating system. So by doing that, I'm able to catch certain Windows messages and modify them. So what I'm really doing, and this is in certain places, like if you go to the bottom right corner of the form, you're able to now resize it just like you would with a standard Windows form, except without that ugly border. Same thing with dragging it to move. So it's used in both form resizing and form moving. Just like I said, this allows for native operations with that less clunky look. It looks nicer, but it's still what you expect from forms. So let's change the CPIC. Let's see. So first we have the old look down there. That's an example. That's a 16 by 9 picture. It would sometimes have a weird border that would appear on the side. Of course, you have the title bar. Well, back then, images didn't always fit properly. You would sometimes have black borders, white borders, depending on what happened. Well, now, the Zoom image layout always auto-sizes the form to fit. Because I figure if you're using Zoom, why would you want that black border? I couldn't come up with a good reason. So that gets rid of unnecessary black space. And so this is an idea of what the new CPIC looks like. This top little title bar type thing only is there when you mouse over. Otherwise, you just have your picture. It's as clean as can be. And of course, you can move it by dragging the title bar like you're used to. You can also resize by going to the bottom corner. All the things you would expect. So what changed with slideshows? The slideshows had previously just been random picking of images, and I went over how random isn't really random in a lot of the ways that people look at it. Well, now it doesn't do this random picking of images. Instead, we do something along the lines of a random ordering of images. So if I have 2 images, they're going to get a certain order, and it's going to continually try to follow that order until that order gets changed again. So this is really what the users expect. Similarly, Windows desktop backgrounds, you don't expect the same wallpaper to have a chance to appear 30 times in a row, even though it could happen somehow. So this way it goes through it just like you expect. So certain events trigger a reordering of the images to display, such as restarting your computer or the program, deleting and adding pictures that also will lead to a reordering. So that works like you expect. So what happened with cStopwatch? I got some suggestions about how to make it more useful. I also got some very interesting questions about changing your time to see what it would do. So let's see. So first things first, I simplified the user interface. We'll see that in a minute. New features, you can pause the stopwatch for any amount of time you want. You can lap it, just like you would on a normal stopwatch. You can lap and save that even. Now here's the important thing. It works with daylight savings time. I figured that's a standard thing. It also works with time zone changes, but I'm just gonna say that it won't work with the question that I got last time, which was, if you went and add 12 hours randomly, is it gonna break? It won't break, but it'll add 12 hours to the stopwatch. This is actually standard behavior. I actually tried it out with a bunch of stopwatches, and a lot of them actually seem to do this. What it comes down to is that there really isn't a good way for the application to know that you just flipped the time arbitrarily. It just knows, okay, the time changed. It just figures, okay, all this time went by. But what I was able to do is, previously we had saved time in local time. Now it saves it in UTC, Universal Coordinated Time, which doesn't take into account daylight savings time. And also, if your time zone changes, it won't mess up the stopwatch. So I figured these are both practical, actual things that can happen without you just going and messing it up on purpose. So all standard things should work. So this is the new look. It's very similar, except we don't have that ugly top bar. instead of having to click that little triangle and then start, you can just click S, L to lap, R to reset. Simple, easy, to the point. So now I'm going to talk about a big bug fix. This diagram may make absolutely no sense at all, but it kind of, you see it already. Okay, so the big bug that I talked about last time that I was having a lot of trouble fixing was this thing I call the fade out bug. Basically, sometimes a fade out wouldn't happen. It would just wouldn't happen. So sometimes the fade out did not occur. Now it's fixed. This is a quick explanation. You can ask your prod line professor about a better explanation one day. But long story short, what was happening was this arrow represents a timer. The timer's continually going. Every certain interval of time, a tick would happen, and that tick would trigger an event. So every tick event is an arrow pointing up, and then completion is when it makes it here. So basically what was happening was a different event was happening between this tick and this tick. The problem was this event would finish first, and it would reset what the timer was supposed to do. However, the timer tick would then finish and basically undo what that event was doing. Therefore, so what would happen was that event too was supposed to change the style of the form from being constant to fading out, but that event basically would get thrown out by the timer finishing its next tick, and then as a result, it would never change state, and then when it was done, or when it should have been done with the fade, the visibility would just change to 0, and it was gone. That's now fixed. That was a race condition, in case you're wondering. Basically, the way I fixed it, I rewrote a little, and basically the tick and that event 2 now happen on separate threads. They don't interact with each other. There's no race condition anymore. It doesn't matter which one finishes first. So as a result, that's fixed. That's actually fixed. It's a big moment. So before I go into a demo, I like to do special thanks. Sean Sullivan, Professor Goldschmidt, Professor Morthy, RCOS, and now the quick demo. So let's go out of this. I'm just going to go through some of the things that have happened here. So this is the dash. Another thing that happened that I just didn't really talk about was now you can change the color of this text and the text up there. So if you want a black background, you can do that also. So here's an image. So we have our metro cards, but if we fade out and fade back in, now we have that other one. And it'll go back and forth between these two now, because these are the only two. But it'll always do that. You won't get the same one 30 times in a row. So let's say we want to move that. Oh, you just move. This is on the zoom mode, so when you resize, it resizes the form. You don't have any unnecessary black space. If you want to move the C sticky, you can just drag it from the top like you're used to. Of course, you can resize it also, just like a standard Windows form. And then the bigger thing is with the stopwatch, you can start it, and of course it tells you the start time, then you can lap. I like to see how fast I can click the mouse button, because every lap is the amount of time between clicks. And you can do that forever, really. It'll just keep working. You can also pause it, and then restart it and keep going. Of course, it also is maintained throughout, starting, restarting the program. And then when you don't want to deal with it anymore, you can just reset and you're back to normal. So that's what I have so far. So are there any questions?
Why does your slideshow have transparency in it?
What, this?
Yeah.
That is transparency because the whole form does. It's a setting that I have set right now. You can, of course, the user can change it to be anything. I like having it at 85, so that's just my own preference. You can change it.
The image itself is.
The whole thing is transparent. The whole form is transparent. There's no way to just make that child form non-transparent, as of now at least. Anything else?
If you really cared about making the timer not change when you change the font, as a counter, you can check to see if it's changed substantially. So you can just check it every so often to make sure it hasn't jumped around.
These comp sci students, I knew they'd come up with something. I'll look into it. Let's see what happens.
You have to access it regularly, so it's less fun.
Might get a little bit more complicated, but it's a possibility. Anything else?
Just curious if you launch that cDashboard is often work. I just want to see how it is that when you launch the Windows, so increase the length. Yeah, I want to increase the length.
Okay, like
That's and the x-axis.
So
Yeah, okay, that's it. Sorry, just want to know whether the fonts get expanded out. That's okay, that's too much.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, cool. Thank you.